It is a technique used to separate organic compound from an aqueous solution by using an immiscible organic solvent. So chromatography is a physical method used to separate mixtures into individual components. Adsorption chromatography is further classified into column chromatography and then thin layer chromatography. A mixture of compound is placed on the top of the column, then above that a solvent is placed on it. Hello dear students, I am Roja, your chemistry lecturer from Vidhyaashram PU College, the Temple of Excellence, Mysore. So today we shall study about the chapter Organic Chemistry, Basic Principles and Techniques. And in the previous session, we have learnt about methods of purification of organic compounds, where we have discussed about 3 purification methods, that is sublimation, crystallization and distillation. In this session, we shall study about differential extraction and also about chromatography. So, differential extraction is also called as solvent extraction. It is a technique used to separate organic compound from an aqueous solution by using an immiscible organic solvent in which the compound is more soluble. Immiscible liquids are those which forms the different layers. They are not going to completely dissolve in one another. So the principle used here is 2 immiscible liquids, typically water and another organic solvents like it could be chloroform or ether, forms separate layers. The compound preferentially dissolves in the organic layer and then the 2 layers are separated using separatory funnel. So let us see how does it work. So this is the separatory funnel. For this, pour the organic solvent and the water to it, then shake gently for some time, then allow it to settle down so that it forms 2 different layers. Now using the stop clock, open the tap to collect the each layers differently. Then repeat this process 2 to 3 times with a fresh solvent so that you can get pure compound, more of a pure compound. This could be evaporated or distilled so that you get more of a purest compound that is free from the impurities. Let us see when to use this differential extraction process. So when the organic compound is dissolved in water, this process could be useful. Otherwise, when you have to extract it into an immiscible organic solvent, then this process is the one which could be helpful for. And then when the compound is more soluble in the organic solvent than in water. So there are certain limitations in this solvent extraction method. Which are those are, if the compound has low solubility in the organic solvent, continuous extraction is necessary where the solvent is circulated many a times. For example, benzoic acid can be extracted from its aqueous solution using diethyl ether. So diethyl ether is an organic solvent that is used here. So the other type of purification method is chromatography. The word chroma comes from a Greek word. Meaning of this word is color. Earlier it was used to separate only plant pigments. So let us see how this method is useful to purify the organic compounds. So chromatography is a physical method used to separate mixtures into individual components, and then it is to purify them and also to test the purity of the substances. So the principle used here is, a mixture is applied onto a stationary phase. A stationary phase can be a solid or a liquid state, and a mobile phase, which could be a solvent or a gas, passes over the stationary phase, and therefore there is one more, different components of the mixture moves at the different rates due to difference in adsorption or partition, resulting in the separation of components. So chromatography has 2 types, that is, one is adsorption chromatography and one more is partition chromatography. So first we shall study about adsorption chromatography. The principle used under this adsorption chromatography is, it works on the principle of differential adsorption. Different compounds in a mixture are adsorbed to a different extent where on a solid surface. that is called as adsorbent. The adsorbent here is the stationary phase which is in a liquid state or could be a solid state. So adsorbents used here in this technique could be silica gel or alumina. These materials will be helpful for separating the components in a mixture. How does it work is, a mobile phase is passed over the stationary phase and then components in the mixture stick or adsorbs or accumulated on the adsorbent at different rates. So this causes the substances to separate at a different level. So again, adsorption chromatography is further classified into column chromatography and then thin layer chromatography. So we shall see what is column chromatography. Column chromatography is a method used to separate components of a mixture by passing it through a column which is packed with the adsorbent. Adsorbent used here is alumina or silica. So it is used, this particular technique is used to purify organic compounds and to separate the color from a non-colored compounds. So let us see how does it work. This is a glass column that is packed with the adsorbent, that is stationary phase. A mixture of compound is placed on the top of the column. Then above that a solvent is placed on it. A solvent here, it can also be called as eluent. And a glass wool is placed at the bottom of the column to avoid the easy flow of the mixture. So now what happens here is, mixtures in the column move downwards at different rates and the components will get adsorbed on the stationary phase at a different rates. So these components are collected separately and then most strongly adsorbed component will lie at the top of the column and less adsorbed component will lie at the bottom of the component. So this will be collected separately. So thin layer chromatography is one of the types of adsorption chromatography. So it's a quick and simple method used to separate small amount of mixtures using a thin layer of adsorbent using a glass plate or a plastic. Let us see how does it work. Take a glass plate and place stationary phase on it. Then mark 2 cm above from the bottom line. Then take a sample, drop a small amount above the 2 cm from the bottom. Then place it in a jar which consists of a solvent or it can be called as an eluent. Then what happens is the solvent moves upward by a capillary action and different components in a mixture will move at a different rates depending on the adsorption. Then spots showed separation after some time. If the spots are colored, then it could be visibly seen. If the spots are colorless, we can use UV lights or we can use iodine vapors for the brown spots. Then we can use a reagent like ninhydrin for spotting the organic compounds like amino acids. So it gives a purple spots. So there is a retardation factor which is used to identify the components, which is given by an equation, that is retardation factor Rf is equal to distance moved by the substance X divided by distance moved by the solvent Y. So here in this picture, the distance moved by the substance is given by the distance starting from the 2 cm above the marked line to the spot that is being clearly visible. So this is X. So that is divided by the distance that is travelled from the solvent. This solvent is what that is carried the components of a mixture. So that is Y. So this gives the retardation factor which is used to identify the components in a mixture. Partition chromatography is one of the types of chromatography. So here it is also called as paper chromatography. Then the principle used here is, it works on the basis of partitioning where different substances in a mixture distribute themselves differently between two phases, that is stationary phase and mobile phase. Stationary phase is where the water is trapped in the pores of the paper. Then mobile phase is a liquid solvent or a mixture that moves around. Then in TLC we have used glass plate. Here in paper chromatography we use a special type of paper, that is chromatography paper. It's a special type of paper that holds water acting like a sponge. So this is what becomes a stationary phase, or which acts as a stationary phase in the paper chromatography. So let us study how does it work. So paper chromatography looks similar to that of TLC, but here one difference is instead of glass plate we use paper. This paper, chromatography paper, should be placed in a jar which consists of a solvent. Then that paper should have a mark which is used as a baseline, and on the baseline take a sample and drop a small amount of a sample on it, then place it in the jar, then cover this jar with a cardboard. Then solvent moves upward by capillary action. Here the components in a mixture moves at a different rates again, depending on how they prefer the water or the organic solvent. After the solvent rises, the separated spots are to be seen on the paper. Then if the spots are colored, it could be seen visibly. If the spots are colored, it could be seen clearly. If the spots are not colored, then we can use UV lights, or we can use iodine vapors, or we can use a reagent like ninhydrin for spotting the amino acids, which gives the purple spot. So the final strip that is showing the separated components are called as chromatogram. So these are the few techniques which are used to separate desired components from the organic compound. And in the next session, we shall study about quantitative and qualitative analysis of organic compounds. Thank you.